Herzlich willkommen zu der zweiten Ausgabe von Nimas Bantaba. Mein Name ist Nima Jadama. Bantaba ist ein traditioneller Treffpunkt, wo Leute sitzen und sich zusammen unterhalten. Der Begriff stammt von Mandinka, meiner Muttersprache in Westafrika, werde aber meistens in Gambia und Senegal gesprochen. Ohne Dokumente und Deutschkenntnisse bleiben Flüchtlinge deutscher Universitäten verschlossen. Doch der Berliner Kiron Online-Plattform bietet Einwanderer Weiterbildungen ohne bürokratische Hürden. Wir werden heute über das Thema Higher Education for Refugees diskutieren und warum es wichtig ist, dass Flüchtlinge Zugang zu Universitäten zu haben. Wir werden eine kurze Vorstellungsvideo spielen über Kiron. Bleiben Sie dran.
Education helps prepare young people for the world of tomorrow. Yet millions of talented refugees and people in underserved communities face too many barriers when it comes to accessing education and training for the 21st century. Critical thinking, digital literacy, and communication skills are essential in a rapidly changing workforce. Kiron provides an opportunity where refugees can study regardless of age, nationality, location, or level of education. Our students have shown incredible determination, but need support and encouragement to make the transition from refugee to student or professional or entrepreneur. Our digital Kiron campus provides the tools to create opportunities and learn skills for the future. On our platform, students choose skill booster programs to learn professional and 21st century skills in areas like digital literacy, Python, web design, and so much more.
Many refugees share the fate of not being able to continue their education in the host country, or only with a time delay, because they are denied access to higher education for bureaucratic reasons. In order to study in Germany, they have to prove their identity, need of school leaving certificate, knowledge of German, and the recognition of their protection by the Federal Office for Migration, BAMF. In many cases, however, refugees have left their passports and certificates behind or lost them while fleeing. Foreign schools and universities' degrees are often not recognized, and there is also a lack of sufficient German language skills and money for tuition fees. In this edition, we will be talking about the access to higher education for refugees and how one and perhaps the only online learning platform, Kiron, is giving access to refugees to higher education through digital learning. Falls ihr auch zu Hause mitmachen möchtet, ihr könnt diese auf unserem Online-Kanal Facebook, Instagram machen oder schickt uns einfach ein Mail at jadama@alex-billing.de. Jetzt darf ich meine Gäste vorstellen. Einmal Markus Kressler, Mitgründer bei Kiron Online Universität oder Learning Plattform. Ehab Badawi, hat Politikwissenschaft bei Kiron studiert. Nun macht er weiter an der Bard College Berlin Politik und Social Torts. I'm glad to welcome you all, gentlemen. Welcome to Nimas Bantaba.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcus, thank you once again for joining us to talk about Kiron Online Learning Platform. Would you mind to share with us how the idea came about? How did you guys found Kiron Online?
Yeah, the idea for Kiron came up when I was working with refugees in a psychological counseling, and at the same time a friend of mine was also working with refugees in Istanbul, and we both made the experience that especially for very qualified people coming to our country, if you come as asylum seeker, you have a very hard time integrating yourself and especially continuing your education, especially for higher education, that's true, because of the reasons that you have mentioned. There's several barriers that refugees are facing, documents, financials, limited seats, but it's also simply the reality of many refugees that you have to find a system that enables you to study flexible from time and location. And Kiron set up an educational program that is specifically designed for people who are in this situation, and that also meets the needs of them in their living circumstances.
Yeah. If I understand well, it is due to the bureaucratic reasons and also the need to easily get integrated into the society. I mean, in terms of higher education and all that. This is why you set up Kiran. But how is the online platform? How did you guys run this online platform? Because perhaps maybe some refugees are actually not used to learning online. It could be for the first time they're using this. And there is no personal guide, one-on-one guide, I mean. They have to do everything online.
Yeah.
How does the online learning works?
Yeah. Yeah, so what became clear to me in the psychological counseling was that refugees need a real perspective. It's not about having a plan for the next couple of days, but it's really a perspective that simply enables every individual to fulfill his personal or her personal goals. And those personal goals can be very different. For some people, it's simply learning the language. So we provide that. For other people, it might be learning English, actually, and not just the host language. So we also provide courses for this. And then we have created a curriculum that you can envision sort of as a stackable degree model. You have very small courses, single courses that you can take simply for your own interest or to orientate yourself. And then there's bigger modules, we call those skill booster programs, that give you a very specific skill, for example, in web development. And if you want then even more progress in your educational studies, you can sign up for our study programs where you can really take university-level courses and even collect credit points up to 1 year at the university that will later be recognized.
Okay. It's actually called Kiran Online University, and some call it learning platform. I know officially it's not a university.
It's not a university.
It is a learning platform, but then one can score credit points to continue at a university.
Exactly.
So what are actually the requirements? Because in all universities, you need to fulfill 5 credit points or certain requirements to be able to study at this university. How is it like with Kiran?
Yeah, we eliminated all of those requirements. At Kiran, anyone can sign up for our courses. Also, people who don't have an official refugee status can sign up by now. We have some limited courses that are only available for refugees, which has financial reasons. We also need to pay for the courses, of course, in the background. So at a certain point, we will ask anyone to upload a proof that you are or you were somehow in a refugee situation.
That means it is just for refugees, or is it for everybody?
It is for everybody, but it's specifically targeted on the situation of refugees.
Okay.
But by now, this is actually has changed in the last 2 years also. At the beginning, we started it all specifically for refugees.
Okay, but
now refugees are also still our core target group. All of our programs are specifically designed for refugees, but especially because with a lot of people, you cannot really define if that person is a refugee or not. There's internally displaced people. There's people who have simply also lost their proof of refugee status. And for those people, we opened up our platform so that we can now say we are open for anyone who faces barriers to higher education, basically.
Oh, okay. So it is inclusive.
Exactly.
Speaking of the requirements and the bureaucracy involved, Ehab, you did study with Kiran.
Yes.
And then up to a point where you secure credit points to be able to get admission at the Bard College, Berlin. First of all, how did you find Kiran? And why did you decide to study with Kiran?
Like, it's a start about my interests. About I'm looking for something can be interesting and easy to study in the time where I'm still missing some skills to be able to study in the German university. I remember the story start when, like, arriving after 2 months arriving Germany, I'm looking to find my way to study, to follow my academic degree and trying to have like a new degree in politics. It's coming as well to my interest on working with young people in politics. Like it was difficult as well to find something in English, and I have to wait until I finish my German, finish my papers.
Science.
Exactly, to be able to move to study officially in university. And it was about, I am in the time where I am looking for something can be more easy, flexible to study online. And then I just did like a research about what can I do as something like political science online. And I find Kiran. It was an easy, normal search on Google.
Yeah.
More, yep.
Okay. And did you went through this bureaucratic process of you need these requirements when you were applying at Bard College Building? With Kiron, this was not the case. You just need to prove your identity and I think proof of English language proficiency that you can study.
Exactly.
How was it like moving to Bard College Building?
Exactly. Like moving to Bard College Berlin, it was after 2 years of being here in Germany, where I say I prepare myself to move to the German university, where I learned the German language, where I get all my requirement to be able to move to the German university. But also at the same time, I start to see what's my attention take me to which university, in which degree I'm looking for. And it was about I'm interested in international politics. For this, it's good to have it in English as degree in politics more than to have it in German. And also still open about, open to the world, to the international relation, to be able to study the thing you like. And like how much bureaucratic, I don't believe it's bureaucratic anymore after 2 years, because I get all the thing I need to be able to access the university from like the resident permit here or from the English requirement I can have or etc. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
If I may add one thing, of course, what we cannot overcome with Kiron as an organization are the legal requirements that universities put up themselves, right? So on our platform, our users, our learners find a pathway where we guide them through the whole application process of German universities. We tell them what documents they need. We can provide some of them, for example, the English learning, the English level certificates or the German certificates. But many of the requirements are simply up to the universities. So unfortunately, when you leave Kiron, you have, hopefully, you're well equipped to have a successful application at the university, but we can never promise that the university will take all of our students. The same is true with our courses. Well, we have set up our curricula in a modular structure so that most of the courses can be recognized by the universities, but of course, in the end, it's always up to them. But by now, I think a lot of, especially the German universities, are very eager to also recognize online courses.
Cool. But do you guys also support students in terms of applying to an offline university? Because I mean, you have to do this perhaps in German. I mean, when you are going to the public schools, and not everybody understands German, and this might be a struggle for some students. Does Kiron step in to say, okay, you were studying with us, and we are placing you to an offline university. Here is our support.
Yeah, it was even a struggle for me to apply in German, and that's my mother tongue. So
I could imagine.
it's a huge bureaucratic struggle, of course. Yeah, as I said, I mean, in the past we even had one-on-one calls where we really guided every single student who wanted to go to university.
Wow. Cool.
By now, our student numbers are so big that we cannot offer this anymore, unfortunately. But we are also, we took all of our learnings and made a program out of this online where everyone can guide themselves through the application process of a German university. And of course, whenever there are questions, actually there is still a chat function where you can get in touch with the support people at Kiron, and they will also always help individual students to have a successful application. Cool.
Learning in Germany, most especially at public schools, is almost free. But then you have to pay few money for every semester and all that. And I understand with Kiron is totally free for students. How are you guys making up financially to be able to run the university and the lecturers?
Yeah, it's because we are not an official university, right? We're just an online platform providing university-level courses. We don't get a fixed state funding. But at the same time, it was also important for us that Kiron is a non-profit organization, that students never have to pay for their education. With our target group, for most of them, it's also simply not possible to pay a lot of money there. So we decided to become a non-profit, which is very challenging, trying to build up cutting-edge software and a real online platform being a non-profit. But it worked out quite well so far, and by now we are funded mostly by government or state institutions. That's 2/3 of our budget, and then 1/3 comes from foundations mostly, and a smaller amount also still from corporate partners or individual donors.
Okay, that's beautiful. Ihab, online learning may seem super easy for
Yes.
people who are like, okay, I think it's easy, I can schedule my own time. But how is it like learning online at a refugee camp, especially at places where you have no access to internet? Because I did spoke to some current students, and the difficulties they face is because there is no effective internet connection, so they either have to give up or how is it like? How were you able to manage yours?
Yeah, me by myself, I didn't leave this experience to study from refugee camp and trying to have the challenge of accessing online education, internet, or etc. But right now we're facing problem with Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, where we try as Chiron to provide our service there, where we have the same problem about there is no study center, and specifically because of COVID-19 has affect the situation there, like it's very challenging. Many of those students, they don't have devices to access online learning. Many of those students, they don't have internet to access the online learning. And it's big challenge, and also solving this is need really technical thing about you need to provide like devices for all those students, like private internet for those students to support them to study there. Far away from this, I believe like many NGO trying in refugee camp to set like a study center where we, as I remember as well in Germany, we had before as Cairo many study center here, where a student able to find an, let's say, quite a place to study, have an internet, have a computer where you can access this online learning, and also at the same time to find other people who have the interest to study the same thing. And this is really support about providing this environment of coming together, study together, sharing experience, knowledge, and ideas.
Okay, you just mentioned the corona pandemic. Speaking of the coronavirus pandemic, Marcus, I have seen online, Kiran has partnered with some universities, offline universities, in terms of supporting them how to go about online learning. I'm like, oh, Kiran is winning during this time because they initiated this. This is 100% what they focus is on. How did this idea came about to collaborate with offline universities to support them when it comes to online learning for their students provide?
Oh, there's many answers to this, actually. When it comes to the COVID response, of course, first of all, we simply had to do something as an online learning provider. And one of the major problems, also still in our politics, but also in the educational institutions, is that they have now money for hardware, but there's actually no money for concepts on how to use that hardware, right? And the pedagogics, that's of course what teaching is all about. It's not just about having an iPad in your hand. It's about knowing how to put up courses, how to really engage students when you cannot meet face to face. And all of those elements, that's what Kiran has now more than 5 years experience in. We have experimented a lot, also done a lot of mistakes along the road. We have tried out to give webinars or bigger online sessions when a course started, or a thing called direct academics, where we, on a modular level, had always one course where people had the opportunity to meet and interact face to face. And all of those learnings we wanted to also hand over to the bigger education system so that they can apply them and, of course, also progress in making those learnings themselves.
Oh, cool. I just want to come to that. How are you guys coping up with the offline activities? Because normally I understand Kiran does many offline activities like workshops, student weeks, and all that. But because of coronavirus, all of this must come to a stop.
Yeah.
How are you guys going about with your activities, offline activities?
Yeah, I mean, offline activities are not the core of our program, of course, as an online learning provider.
Yeah.
Wherever we can, we try to provide opportunities for students also to meet, to work in the real world with each other. But the program also works without those offline activities. So I think, yeah, for the situation we are now simply in, we're actually quite well equipped, and our students also are very much used to a way of learning together without being able to sit in the same room. So probably we are better off than most of the traditional educational institutions.
Okay. I have Marcus mentioned that you also went through this process of having a credit points before moving to an offline university. You're currently studying with Bard College Berlin, politics and social thoughts, if I am right. How was the transfer process like? What were the requirements? Was there any bureaucracy involved? How was it like for you?
Actually, the process starts from Chiron,
Okay.
because the support I get to go through the process to apply and to check the document and to do the application of the scholarship as well. It was with support with Chiron, I remember. And it was about as well to build the relation between me and the university to see how I can fit in the program and to have this introduction about the program in Bard College. It's come until the step I applied and I get the sit in the university and I get the scholarship, and then the university start to have the responsibility on me and to try to follow and to doing my study there.
I understand you have a diploma in engineering and work as a youth activist or representative with various international organizations, including UN and the Scout group. Why politics?
Politics, because my background, I'm Syrian, my country facing war from 9 years, where it's have a responsibility on me to participate in having peace. I don't need to participate in part of war, but I need to participate in part of building peace to my country. This is where I find some skills I have, my relations, my interest, where I'm able to involve with young people, with youth actives, and also I have the good skills help me to present the voice of young people and also to lead young people together on way can we build peace or participating in peace process.
Okay. Thank you for that. Marcus, we are actually discussing about higher education for refugees and why it is important for refugees to have higher education. Why do you think it's important for refugees to have higher education?
Why is it important for anyone else? I think it's the same question, right?
Because I mean, people might be like, oh, they're just refugees. In fact, they have no papers.
Yeah, I would see it exactly the other way around, I think.
Thank you, that's good.
I think especially then, I mean, it's just education is as you say, the most powerful weapon of all, right? And if you're in the weakest of all situations, you should have the most powerful weapon in your hand.
Yeah.
And that's why refugees, even more than actually anyone else, not just deserve, but also need higher education. That's just a great solution to that situation.
Yeah.
And of course, just being a refugee says nothing about your potential.
It's just a name.
It's just a name that you put on someone. And I've met people who came here as visitors to Germany, and they became refugees while they were here because there was a war breaking out in their country.
Yeah.
So this definition, who is actually a refugee, is pretty
it's still
arbitrary anyway.
And also, education is still a right of human rights. This is a right of every human. Doesn't matter if he is refugee, or doesn't matter from which religion, or doesn't matter where he comes from.
But not a privilege for everybody.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but not a privilege for everybody because some people don't have the financial means to educate.
And this is here where comes the support of NGOs like Chiron to make it equal for everyone. And this is where we have to come always together to bring it equal for everyone.
Okay. Obviously, with those issues or politics around refugee issues, especially in 2015, you might receive critics. I mean, people might say, Chiron is also among one of those that are abusing the system in the name of refugees. Do you guys receive any critics like this also that might hinder your work?
Very little, actually. I mean, there's always a couple of idiots, of course, sending you letters asking why do we have to spend our tax money now on refugees. But then even the very much right-wing voters in our society, I would ask them back, when there's refugees in our country, do you want a stupid refugee or a smart refugee who can actually pay taxes for your own healthcare and for your own elderly care later on? So I think it's a no-brainer that we were simply in this situation. I mean, my personal political view doesn't really count, but I think we could have taken in even more people in our society, wouldn't break on this. I think it actually made us a lot stronger even, and now we see in the economic numbers also that it pays off even financially, right? And we need more young people, so there's a lot of good arguments for it, and I think we all benefit more now that there's actually dangers to this, and yeah, that's what I would also simply show anyone who tells differently.
Speaking of numbers, how many students does Kiron have? And how many students were you able to transfer to online universities? Do you have records of this?
It's always hard to measure, yeah. I mean, our students' numbers we know quite well. We actually just crossed the 10,000 active users mark, which was a big success for us. Of course, that's always, as an online learning platform, that's always your number one goal, the KPI, right? The key performance indicator that you want to optimize, that your student numbers are even bigger and that the students that you have are even more successful. And we are pushing out new features, new programs every 2 weeks to enable this. Sometimes you make progress, you make a lot of programs, sometimes you just make small progress, but we are definitely going into the right direction there. In the end, also to your previous question, I think in the end Kiron is really shaping a way for universities and integrational pathways, maybe let's call it.
Really good.
So it's not just the Kiron students that get to the universities in the end, but it's every single Kiron student that actually enables the universities to implement processes so that they can take in a lot more refugees also without Kiron being involved afterwards.
Is such initiative firstly run by Kiron, or, I mean, because of course we are not used to German universities just taking refugees like that or displaced people. I mean, through the process of Kiron, could we see the percentage rises more, or the idea?
That's a good question. I don't think that you could see that in big numbers yet, because the universities, of course, have also tried their best and set up different programs to bring in refugees themselves. Lots of them have set up mentor or buddy programs or language courses where they were then recruiting students. And of course, the funding that was going into that direction was way bigger than the funding Kiron got. But I think for the resources that were available to us, we managed to establish a stream for students that do not fit in the classical education system. Now, as I mentioned before, it's not just the legal requirements, it's also the living circumstances, and there Kiron definitely has an offer for people who need even more flexibility than the university bridge programs could provide them.
Ehab, how does this online learning works, especially when you are to set an exam? So you have to do an exam through online and you are in your bedroom. There is no instructor. How is it like?
There is many different ways right now to have online exam using Google Form, or there is a setup from the university or from online courses like Coursera or edX or etc. They have the system how to have the online exam, you can say. And also, absolutely, they have many different ways to check your identity about you are doing this, and there is some limited times you are able to do the exam in this short time, or you have limited time to response or something. There is many different ways, but where this is like exactly as any exam system. And what I see as well right now today, there is many English tests. It start to be an online, like for example, Duolingo English test, which is full. You can have it online, like IELTS or TOEFL, where this is like the word is going online because this is more easy, more cheap, and also this gives the opportunity for everyone to have it and to be part of it.
Okay. Marcus, would you mind to tell us what are some of the courses Kiron offer? Because I understand you don't have a wider range of courses that you offer, somehow limited. And where are the lecturers from?
Yeah. So that was the whole idea. No? When I studied in California, it was completely normal to do online courses besides your physical classes.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering why doesn't that happen in Germany yet? And would be the ideal solution for refugees to be able to study even from the camps if there's computer and an internet. And yeah, so we were looking for our courses pretty much everywhere in the internet. There's the big massive open online course platforms, mostly Coursera, edX. There's some other private ones. There are some platforms that provide not videos, but great materials, like Sailor.org for business studies, for example. But we are really looking everywhere and simply trying to collect the best resources that are out there in the internet and designing the best possible curriculum out of this. And whenever there's a gap, something missing, we also jump in and then produce a course or a small transition for the content that's still missing for the program to be coherent.
Are there any analog meetings in terms of students communicating, exchanging information and all that?
Yeah, there's of course digital ways to exchange, right? There's a forum, a chat function, and so on. It depends a bit on the location. Here in Germany, we really try to establish a program that runs only digital, because that's probably the future, that you are really able to maximize the potential of digital technologies.
Yeah.
But wherever we can, we try to provide events also still in Germany. Where we do it a lot is in Jordan and in Lebanon. There our students often also need a lot more support. Simply the government or the societal structures are not that good that you could simply let them study online. In Germany there's a lot more resources for this. So there we also have physical meetings where the students meet and learn and exchange, for example, in flipped classroom formats. So you study the course before you actually go into the lecture with your professor, and then in the lecture, you discuss what you have learned before.
Okay. Ihab, you are currently running your own platform or organization, Syrian Youth Assembly. Tell us a little bit about this. Does this have any connection with Kiron?
Yes, Syrian Youth Assembly, like it's an organization start 2016, work on involving young Syrian in the peace process officially. But also when we start to speak about peace process involving young people in peace process, it was very important for us to provide to the young people the basic of the life where they can give them the attention later on the peace process. And especially because of the case of Syria, how much difficult to provide this education inside, it was online education the easier way, as well as Chiron, how we try to see, like working with Chiron together, it can help us to provide this solution for those young people inside and to make the online education a key for having peace and to building peace in those countries. Because we believe as well, young people, they have to receive the need they look for always, and specifically start from education, start from work, start to take then they can take the attention on peace building and go through this. And like being here in Germany, it's a good way to have many different opportunities to bring it back to the people there. Especially when we start, for example, working together with Chiron about how we can provide this for the Syrian refugee located in some different places, and also young people who is living in Syria.
Cool, interesting. I'll come back to that as a follow-up question. One thing that really struck me that I really love about Kiron is their Women Empowerment Initiative. Not because I am a woman, but I mean, what is the idea behind this? Because it's like Kiron is going extra to empower women, not just online digital learning, but providing mentorship, workshops, and all that. How does this idea came about?
Yeah, when we started Kiron, we noticed that out of 10 students, 9 students are male. And that was a problem because in our classes, there were quite often then 20 people and only 1 or 2 of them were female. And that was quite uncomfortable for them. And on the other hand side, of course, there is simply a big need for this topic to be more present in our society, in our media. There is still a lot of structural disadvantages that females have to face. And we are trying to react to this with our programs by giving a little bit of extra mentorship, or also showing role models of successful women. There's great stories of women who also were refugees before and are now great artists, politicians, businesswomen. So yeah, I think it's a lot about this also change of mindset in our society.
Empowering women to also study.
Exactly, and to them become spokeswomen themselves.
Yeah, that's actually good. In 2017, the Bundeskanzlerin Angela Merkel visited Kiron. What was the idea behind this? And IHAB was part of this student that Merkel had a discussion with. How was it like, the Bundeskanzlerin to visit Kiron? And what was the main idea behind this whole thing? Because people were like, oh, okay, Merkel is taking her time to visit Kiron, and not just any ordinary university would she do that. Is it because it is just for refugees? Or she just visited Kiron?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it was because
It was refugees.
maybe because there was an election coming up, and
Many people say this, okay, she's trying to win votes, because in a month or two it's election, and then the refugees will be there to campaign with this Flüchtlingspolitik and all that.
but still it's cool. You know, even if she did it maybe because there was an election coming up, and she of course positioned herself as a pretty strong supporter for refugees, especially compared to other European countries, right? And yeah, that's I think also why she gave us a visit. But of course, we are working, I think since a couple of years. There is not so many social organizations who really manage to get big and also create impact for thousands of people. She just lives right behind our office, actually, so was a short way to give us a visit. She's very interested in all digital topics. She also wants to push that Germany becomes more of a digital leader in Europe. And I think this image is the perfect image for Berlin, being a digital player who doesn't go into the American craziness of complete freedom, but also not into the Chinese craziness of complete surveillance and control. We have to find the responsible middle way in digitalization, and I think Kiron, also for Merkel, is a great showcase on how you can actually find a responsible and useful way for technology to create positive impact.
Ihab, you were part of the few students that Merkel had a discussion with during her visit at Kiron. Just what were some of the highlights or discourse that you guys were able to have with her? What was her impression?
It's still interesting how we are as young refugees, we are doing here, how we are following our dreams, trying to find access to education, trying really to work on ourselves to be able to live here. And this is also interesting about we just in few months we start to learn the language, to try to involve ourselves here, there. And I remember we spoke in German, not in English. The whole conversation it was in German.
Cool.
Yeah. And I remember this, but it's still about, it's interesting to see like how was the response to the refugee wave in 2015 about providing different ways to involve those young people and also to give young people the possibility to find something interesting in the same times where they are waiting until their process be able to done and to really engage in the community. But this was a very interesting response to the wave of refugee. And also I see as well right now, we learn a lot, and this is how was our response to COVID-19 as well, was online education and how to involve people back who social distance make us different than before and put us in new crisis as well. Yeah.
Cool. Marcus, Kiron focuses not only on digital learning or women empowerment, or trying to make connection to have the Bundeskanzlerin visit Kiron and all that. But then you also partner with different organizations, Germany and outside Germany. I understand Ihab just mentioned in Kakuma in Kenya, you guys are working with the refugee camp. Kiron is doing such a wonderful job in Germany and also in Africa, perhaps in Kenya. But are you guys extending your wings to other African countries to give them access to higher education, not because they're refugees, but because they lack the access to higher education financially?
Exactly.
Which countries are those, if I may ask?
Yeah,
Apart from Kenya.
it's exactly as you describe it. Yeah, was already when the idea for Kiron came up. We knew that this is not just a solution for refugees, but simply a solution for anyone
It's
who
a
wants
worldwide
higher
solution.
education. Exactly. Even in the United States, there's a lot of people who cannot afford higher education, and as Ehab said, it should be actually a human right. So also for them, it's a pretty cheap way to, get into higher education. So we are spreading out our wings. Of course, we just have a limited budget, and all NGOs are very much underfunded. So to solve the problem alone will not be possible with our resources.
Is it because of the COVID-19 or generally?
It's just for non-profit organizations. The market is just not that big, right?
It's not boosting.
Yeah. But it's also one of our strategies of expanding. On the one hand side, we are trying to create useful partnerships that enable us to go into those countries. And ideally, we have partners who provide spaces, internet, computers, and who use our programs to run their own programs. Right? It's very good building blocks also that we can offer to other NGOs that can then be locally adapted by them, also by giving offline lessons to our online courses. And on the other hand side, we are trying to create technology that we can then also sell to other organizations so they can run their own programs, even in their own design and stuff, right? So one thing that we have now, that we are currently developing, not sure if I can actually already say this, but whatever, we are setting up a pathway into our platform for all international NGOs to run their own programs on our learning system. So any NGO could run their own programs there. They can produce online courses. They get templates, tricks, and tools from us. They have access to the whole Kiron universe of courses. And of course, the more NGOs we get on the platform, the more courses there are and the more users there are. And I think that's really now a great initiative that we have just started to, even with little resources, to create impact in hopefully all countries of this planet once.
Interesting. That means Kiron is not just into e-learning, online learning, or just having students, but also trying to make money with NGOs through this new initiative.
No, that's not. For NGOs...
but they'll have to pay if they're to use the service of yours.
But they really just pay the cost that we basically have, right? So as an example, for an NGO to get their own account on Kiron Campus is maybe like 10,000 euros. And that's... Yeah, pretty.
That's cool.
Pretty exactly. And for companies to get their own learning platform, right, where we would basically take our platform, copy paste it, make their own features for it, that's at least 10 times more. So that's where the one thing is where we make money, the other thing is where we make impact.
You equally serve as head of corporate affairs at Kiron, if I am right, apart from being the founder. But I realize you're not that much active currently as you were. You used to be with Kiron. Do you have other activities that you are engaged on? Does this have any impact that, okay, Marcos is not there, Kiron is not somehow, does it have an impact?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't have left if that was the case, actually. We built up Kiron for nearly 4 years. It was the founding team. And then in summer of last year, I moved out of the organization, but only because I had the feeling that there's huge talents in our organization that actually deserve to get on a higher level and take over the job that we were previously doing. Yeah, we were 3 founders, and founders are not necessarily the best managers long term.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you have a real entrepreneurial mindset, you're good in starting things, kicking them off, bringing them to a certain point. But especially in our business, right? It's still education. You need, at a certain point, credibility. You need to run for a very long time to produce investment cases that give you the resources to then really offer the program everywhere in the world. And for us, yeah, that was simply not the task anymore, where we saw ourselves doing the best job in. So there were great people in the organization and some additional people that we brought in from the outside. And they are now running the organization quite well. But of course, all of the founders are still involved on a strategic level. So it's still our baby. We still talk whenever there's big decisions to be made. And for example, what I just explained you, the financial security by creating white label solutions for companies, public institutions, and on the other hand side, to leverage our impact by doing the same, just for the costs that we really have for international NGOs. That was, for example, one thing that we discussed a lot with the old founders and the current management of Kiron. So it's going better than before.
It's in safe hands. Yeah. You are actually very busy, apart from studying with Kiron, and I understand you have this collaboration with Kiron with regards to the Syrian Youth Assembly. What kind of collaborations do you have with Kiron in terms of peace building, providing higher education for refugees? Is your focus only on Syrian refugees, or it's for all refugees?
My focus is for Syrian refugee because this is the community I work for, and also I have the easy access to. At the same times, because we have other program we run, and at the same times directly on peace building, where this is peace building education. Doesn't link with Kiron, the thing we provide with Kiron, because we organize many webinars, we organize many session, consultation, we organize the youth participation directly in the peace process. But also at the same time, it was having the cooperation with Kiron, it support us to access many different things online from Coursera or etc. And also it's a way to share knowledge and share experience, and also to support other students maybe from accessing different product or online service. Yep.
I understand Kiron has like offices in Jordan, in France, if I am right. But even in Kenya, do you guys have a space where refugees would have access to higher education apart from Kenya? I mean, I'm interested how you guys are actually focusing on Africa and helping Africans to also get into higher education. They have the talent, they have the university requirements, but financially they can't. Do you have any plans?
Yeah, it's sometimes not so easy to understand because what's the focus, because we started the whole thing for refugees, and then we noticed actually we are solving problems that not just refugees have, but that lots of international moving people simply are facing. You have to learn a new language, you have to integrate into a new society, you're not familiar with the local education system. So the refugee situation is not that special, or in that regard, not that special from the situation of an international student, just with more challenges, of course. So when it comes to Africa, that was in our head from day one when we started Kiron. Our platform is in the internet, so anyone who has internet access, the internet knows no borders, right? That's why we started an online education platform. So from day one, people in all African countries were actually free to sign up for our programs and do courses with us. What's always really challenging for us is to go with our little team into each country of the world. We don't even have enough people to place half a person in each country, and to search for computers, for the local study hubs, for facilitators, for community managers. That's what you would actually need to really properly go into a new country. And there we are really relying on partnerships, not because we wouldn't like to go there, but simply because we don't have the resources for it. The resources that we have, we invest in creating more programs that can then be accessed by people in every country of this world without any limitations. Not sure about North Korea, actually. Probably not from North Korea, but from any other country. Yeah, that's, in our opinion, for the euro that we can invest, the biggest impact. Otherwise, if we would go and invest 2 people into Kenya, people from Somalia would ask us, why do you not come here? And
exactly.
That's why we need partnerships really to go into those countries. And yeah, anyone who wants to set up a study hub or who has a computer room or who has funds available to start a local Chiron team in the country and actually facilitate our courses additionally to the online facilitation that we can provide. My arms are wide open and we don't say no to anyone.
Good luck on that. Like, how many universities are you guys working with?
Yeah. So Chiron provides their own certificates, right? Just as any learning provider has their own certificates, so those can always be used. With the universities, it's literally any university in Germany. It's all the applied universities that our students often like to go to, but of course also the big public traditional universities. And it's really up to the students which university they want to go to. There are some where we have made good experiences that you might be more likely to get in, and this is recommendations that we can give to our students. But of course, at the end, you have to compete with other international students, with local German students, sometimes even, and it's the decision of the universities if our students will be taken in. So we can only work with them so far that we equip them with everything they need for a successful application, and then of course counsel them if something doesn't work out with the university.
Ihab, you applied to Bad College Berlin with credit points, if I am right.
Yes.
But you were still doing the normal 4 years procedure.
Yes.
Why is it because you actually did not really met the requirements, or this is the requirements of the university?
It's my interest to study the full program and to enjoy the program and to learn more. It's absolutely the thing I study before. It's something like preparation to study in real university, to come through all the assignment. But it is still to enjoy the study. And I believe today it's way not about just finish your study and it's done now. You are going to still student until maybe you die. For this, it's good to keep learning. It's good to educate ourselves. For this, I'm just enjoying.
Thank you. Das war's von unserer heutigen Sendung Nima's Bantaba. Mein Name ist Nima Chadama. Mein Gast sind Markus Kressler, Mitgründer von Chiron University oder Online-Plattform. Ihab Badwi, ein ehemaliger Student von Chiron, der studiert jetzt Politik und Social Thought an der Bad College Berlin. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Vielen Dank. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Nima Jatama. That's the end of our today's program. Probably not the end of our subsequent episodes. My guests were founders from Chiron and a former student from Chiron. Until I come your way next, goodbye.